90 seconds. That is exactly how much time you have to evacuate a burning aircraft before the fuel tanks turn the cabin into an incinerator. Most passengers are worried about their overhead bin space, but they should be looking at their feet. Your shoes are not just fashion. In a crisis, they are weapons that could kill everyone behind you. Stop. The system is rigged, and the airlines are banking on your ignorance. They hide your right to $1,500 payouts while setting USB traps that clone your data right at the gate. The airport is a financial and physical minefield. Here are 16 rules to survive the chaos and keep your cash where it belongs. Rule 1 of 16. 90 seconds. That is the FAA mandated window for a full evacuation, regardless of whether the plane has 200 seats or 500. Evelyn, a 29-year-old architect from Tokyo, found herself in a smoke-filled cabin at Haneda Airport. Panic was rising like the gray haze in the aisles. Evelyn looked at her 4-inch stilettos and realized they felt like anchors. The airline will not tell you this, but those heels are a death sentence for an inflatable slide. If you jump onto that rubberized escape route with sharp heels, you risk puncturing the material. One tiny tear, and the slide collapses, trapping dozens of people inside a burning fuselage. Crews are not judging your outfit during boarding. They are scanning for hazards. Evelyn kicked her shoes off and slid to safety on her socks. Seconds save lives, and your vanity is not worth a punctured exit. But shoes are only the beginning of your physical battle. Physics always wins, especially when Rule 2, Boyle's Law and the jet belly, hits your digestive system. Rule 2 of 16. Watch what you eat before boarding at Dallas-Fort Worth or prepare for mid-air agony. Daniel, a 37-year-old history professor, learned about gas laws the hard way after a heavy pre-flight meal. As his plane climbed to 35,000 feet, the cabin pressure dropped to the equivalent of an 8,000-foot mountain peak. It is a simple matter of physics. Boyle's law states that as pressure decreases, gas volume increases. Daniel felt his gut expand by nearly 30%. He felt like a human balloon ready to pop. The airline will not tell you this, but your pre-flight burger is a ticking time bomb. Stop. Avoid carbonated sodas and beans at least 24 hours before your departure. Stick to lean proteins and plenty of water. If you feel the pressure building, do not just sit there in pain. Get up and walk the aisle to help the gas move through your system. Daniel eventually found relief, but his 4-hour flight was a miserable lesson in barotrauma. Cheap meal, expensive mistake. You cannot defy physics, but you can minimize the bloat. You survived the pressure, but now you have to face the desert. Rule 3 of 16. Jaden, a 24-year-old barista from London, woke up 3 hours into his flight to Heathrow feeling like a mummy. His throat was parched, and his eyes felt like they had been scrubbed with sandpaper. The airline will not tell you this, but cabin humidity usually drops below 10%. For context, the Sahara Desert often sits at 20% humidity. They are banking on your ignorance to sell you $5 bottles of water. Stop. You need more than a sip to stay functional. Jaden's contact lenses were practically fused to his corneas because the air was sucking every drop of moisture from his body. To survive a long-haul stretch, you must use saline drops every 2 hours and swap your caffeine for water with electrolytes. Jaden had to remove his lenses in the cramped lavatory, but the damage was done. It is not a miracle cure, but hydration stops the physical crash. You will still be tired, but you will not look like a zombie when you land. However, dry eyes are nothing compared to the biohazard waiting on the bathroom floor. Rule 4 of 16. Have you ever stepped into an airplane lavatory in just your socks? When Jacob, a 45-year-old librarian from Amsterdam, walked toward the back of the plane, he left his shoes under the seat. Halfway across the threshold, he felt a cold, damp patch seep into his wool socks. He hoped it was just water from the sink. It was not. Let us be blunt. That puddle is a toxic mix of heavy-duty disinfectant and human urine. Turbulence makes aiming a suggestion rather than a rule, and the airline will not tell you this, but those floors are rarely scrubbed during a flight. They hope you do not realize the floor is a bacterial playground. Jacob had to toss his expensive socks into the trash and scrub his feet for 20 minutes. Always wear your shoes, even for a quick trip to the sink. Do not be a victim of the wet floor gamble. This gross reality is a minor annoyance, though, compared to the financial warfare the airlines wage against your rights. Rule 5 of 16. Airlines save millions every year by betting on your exhaustion. Matthew, a 52-year-old electrician from Munich, was stranded after a cancellation. The gate agent smiled and handed him a $200 travel voucher. Matthew was tired and almost signed the paper. Stop. They are banking on your ignorance of DOT regulations. That voucher is a trap designed to keep your money in their ecosystem. They hope you ignore the expiration dates and the blackout periods. Here is the fix. In the United States, if an airline cancels your flight for a reason within their control, you can often request a full refund to your original payment method. Not a credit, not a maybe. Cash. Matthew stood his ground and politely stated he preferred his $1,200 refund. Reality check. This will not happen instantly. It usually takes 7 business days for the money to hit your credit card. But it is your money, not theirs. You just saved your cash, but that is nothing compared to the payout you get when you hit the overbooking jackpot. Rule 6 of 16. Never volunteer for a bumped flight the moment you hear the first announcement. John, a 31-year-old chef from San Francisco, was sitting at the gate when the speaker crackled. The airline had overbooked the flight to New York and needed volunteers for a $200 voucher. John was ready to jump. Stop. The airline starts low because they want to save their bottom line. If John had waited just 15 minutes, he would have seen the offer climb to $800 plus a hotel stay. They hope you do not know the rules. The more desperate the airline gets to move a plane, the higher the price goes. John held out until the final call and walked away with a $1,200 travel credit and a first-class seat on the next morning flight. The first offer is bait, and only the patient catch the big fish. But even a grand won't help if you are stuck on the runway for hours, which is why Rule 7, the tarmac delay limit, is your next survival tool. Rule 7 of 16. Grayson, a 26-year-old photographer from Orlando, sat in seat 22F watching heat waves shimmer off the tarmac. The cabin was a sweltering 85 degrees. 2 hours turned into 3, and the air felt like lead. The airline will not tell you this, but they are banking on your ignorance while you sit in that pressurized oven. Stop. Here is the legal fix. For domestic flights, the Department of Transportation rule is strict. 3 hours is the limit for tarmac delays. At the 2-hour mark, they are legally required to provide food and water. If that clock hits 180 minutes, they must usually return to the gate and let you off. Grayson spoke up and reminded the lead flight attendant that he was aware of the 3-hour limit. Miraculously, the plane received clearance to move 10 minutes later. Stay cool and know your timestamps. You escape the heat, but you will not escape the fees unless you are ready for the baggage expense hack. Rule 8 of 16. Have you ever stood at a luggage carousel in Detroit and realized your bag is the only one that did not show up? Emma, a 39-year-old dentist, was living that nightmare. Her bridesmaid dress was stuck in a sorting facility 1,200 miles away, and the wedding was the next morning. The agent just shrugged and gave her a tracking number. Emma felt helpless. The airline will not tell you this, but they are responsible for your reasonable expenses when bags are delayed. Stop. Emma did not cry. She went to the mall and bought a new dress and toiletries. Keep every single receipt. You can often claim up to $3,800 for domestic baggage liability. It is not a free shopping spree, but the essentials are covered by the airline's insurance. Emma got reimbursed in full 3 weeks later. A lost dress is a glitch, but your digital security is a much bigger crisis when juice jacking comes into play. Rule 9 of 16. 100% of the liquids you bring to the security checkpoint are subject to the strict 3.4-ounce limit. That is the standard. But there is a loophole hiding in plain sight. Take Wyatt, a 33-year-old journalist flying out of Venice. He wanted to bring a specific local specialty drink home, but it was a 12-ounce bottle. The airline will not tell you this, but TSA rules apply to liquids, not solids. Wyatt froze his drink until it was rock-solid ice. If it does not slosh, it is a solid in the eyes of the scanner. At the checkpoint, the agent tilted the bottle. No movement. Wyatt walked right through with his frozen beverage. Just make sure it is completely frozen before you reach the front of the line. The system is rigged, so use the state of matter to your advantage. This hack is great for today, but it won't matter if you pick the wrong seat for tomorrow's safety. Rule 10 of 16. Check the tail section of your next flight before you pick a seat. Owen, a 41-year-old pilot from Charlotte, was rushing through the terminal to catch a connection. Like most travelers, he usually paid extra for row 4 to get off the plane faster. He was sacrificing safety for speed. The airline will not tell you this, but they profit from your desire to be first. Owen knew the data. In the event of a serious incident, the front of the aircraft is often the most vulnerable. Statistically, passengers in the rear third of the cabin have a 40% higher survival rate during major accidents. Sitting near the tail also usually means fewer neighbors, since middle seats in the back are the last to fill up. Owen moved his seat to the rear and enjoyed an entire row to himself. It is a bit bumpier during turbulence, but it is a safer choice. Subscribe to Beat the System, because a safe seat won't save your health on a long-haul flight if you forget your socks. Rule 11 of 16. Harper, a 22-year-old student from Warsaw, was midway through an 8-hour flight when her legs started feeling like lead. She did not want to disturb her seatmate, so she stayed frozen in 24B. That was a dangerous mistake. Deep vein thrombosis is not just something that happens to the elderly. When you are in the air for more than 4 hours, your blood struggles against gravity in a cramped position. The airline won't tell you this because they would rather pack you in like sardines than give you room to stretch. Stop. You must move. Every 90 minutes, flex your ankles or walk to the galley. Wear compression socks with 15 to 20 millimeters of mercury pressure. Drink 8 ounces of water every hour to keep your blood from thickening. Reality check. Movement is not a total guarantee, but it drastically lowers your risk of a clot. Harper landed safely because she made sure to move. They profit from the space they save, but you pay the price with your health. Your legs are safe, but your phone is the next target for Rule 12. Rule 12 of 16. Ever wondered why that free USB port at the gate looks so inviting when your phone is at 2%? Violet, a 48-year-old real estate agent from Athens, was waiting for her connection and plugged her phone into a public charging station. Big mistake. The airline will not tell you this, but those ports can be used for juice jacking. A hidden chip behind the plastic can clone your photos, contacts, and passwords in seconds. They are banking on your convenience. The fix is simple. Always use your own AC wall outlet plug, or buy a $10 USB data blocker. This device physically cuts the data pins while allowing the power to flow safely. Violet only noticed the breach when her bank sent a fraud alert 2 hours later. Your data is worth more than a quick charge. Cheap power leads to an expensive identity theft breach. But technology is a double-edged sword, especially as we move toward the future of biometrics. Rule 13 of 16. Over 80% of major airports plan to replace paper boarding passes with facial scans by the year 26. Charlotte, a 55-year-old pharmacist from San Diego, was heading home when the biometric screen flashed red. The system did not recognize her face, and Charlotte became a ghost in the machine. No paper backup and no human nearby meant she was stuck. The airline won't tell you this, but these systems are only as good as the lighting and the software. Technology is a lock, but you need a key. Always keep a digital copy of your boarding pass on your phone and a printed one in your bag. If the scan fails, find an agent and say, "The biometric scan failed. I need a manual override." Agents can bypass the glitch if you have your ID ready to go. Do not just stand there in silence. Biometrics are built for speed, not perfect accuracy. Be ready to pivot when the machine fails you. You survived the scanner, but now you have to survive the legal team. Rule 14 of 16. Check your ticket before you try the risky travel hack known as skip lagging. Levi, a 27-year-old musician from Tampa, thought he beat the system by booking a flight to New York with a layover in Miami. He lived in Miami and saved $300 by planning to just walk out at the hub. He felt like a genius until the next week. When he tried to check in for his return flight, his ticket did not exist. The airline will not tell you this, but skipping a single leg of your flight automatically voids every remaining segment on your itinerary. The system is rigged to protect their pricing models. Reality check. You might save money up front, but you risk being stranded or even blacklisted by the carrier. Levi ended up paying a $900 last-minute fare to get home. This is where they squeeze you for every dime. Cheap seat, expensive mistake. But even a valid ticket won't save you from a virus if you do not know Rule 15. Rule 15 of 16. Matteo, a 61-year-old translator from Nice, sat in his seat shivering as the cabin grew cold. He reached up and twisted the air vent until the flow stopped completely. That was a mistake. By shutting off the air, Matteo invited every airborne droplet in the cabin to settle on his face. The airline won't tell you this, but that nozzle is your best defense against sickness. They bank on your discomfort while you breathe stagnant air. Most modern planes use HEPA filters that remove 99% of bacteria. Keeping the vent on a medium setting, aimed right at your nose, creates an invisible curtain of air. This high-pressure stream pushes away droplets from coughing or sneezing neighbors. It is not a magic shield, but it significantly lowers your viral load during a flight. Matteo woke up with a cold 3 days later, realizing he traded his health for a bit of warmth. Subscribe to Beat the System, because cold air is annoying, but it is nothing compared to the surcharge you pay for a ride home. Rule 16 of 16. Have you ever noticed that your $40 Uber ride jumps to $70 the moment you step out of the arrivals hall? Mia, a 35-year-old app developer from Paris, just landed and saw the staggering price on her screen. It was not the traffic, it was the airport surcharge. This is a hidden fee tacked on because you are requesting a ride on airport property. Mia watched the price climb and felt trapped like every other passenger. Most people think paying this premium is the only way out, but it is not. Stop. You can bypass the geofence. Mia took a free 5-minute hotel shuttle to a nearby parking lot outside the official airport zone. Once she stepped off the shuttle, she opened her app again. The $70 ride dropped to $45 instantly. You are not breaking the rules. You are simply changing your coordinates. Taking a free train one stop away often has the same effect. Mia saved $25 in 5 minutes. Reality check. It takes a bit of extra walking and effort, but for light travelers, it is a massive win. If you do not know these rules, the airport will take your money every single time. The airlines hate that you know this. Hit subscribe to keep winning.